The FIA Formula E Championship headed to Berlin for the first doubleheader of Season 3. Let's take an in-depth look at a race full of action and controversy. Felix Rosenqvist took the first ever victory for Indian marque Mahindra thanks to a beautifully executed drive. As ever, the start of the race was crucial. Jose Maria Lopez in the DS Virgin car got a horrible start from second on the grid, promoting Rosenqvist from third to second. His teammate Nick Heidfeld made another trademark good start, crucially blocking any attack from the DS Virgin cars behind. That was key, as it gave Rosenqvist a buffer to conserve energy. At the end of lap 10, Lucas de Grassi had built his lead to 2.3 seconds over Rosenqvist, but crucially the Swede had over 1% more usable energy to use in the second half of the first stint. Rosenqvist was fundamentally quicker than de Grassi, so by saving more energy and dropping back, he was then able to close in on the Brazilian while using the same amount of energy. So on lap 21, he'd caught the back of the apt car with more usable energy. One of the key strategic points of Formula E is to get ahead just before the pit stops, and this was Rosenqvist's opportunity. It started at turn 9, with de Grassi locking up and Rosenqvist taking a wider line, and as they approached the final corner on the lap, the Mahindra team told Rosenqvist, "If you see the chance, then go for it." As they came out along the start straight, with Rosenqvist once again taking a far wider line for a better exit, de Grassi knew he was in trouble. He covered the inside line, but with the Mahindra's extra energy, Rosenqvist was able to brake later and go around the outside of de Grassi and into the lead of the race. All the Mahindra team needed to do was a straightforward pit stop and they would emerge in the lead. Once that had happened, Rosenqvist demonstrated his speed, dominating the race, and although the gap at the end was 2.3 seconds, he backed off on the last lap just to make sure, and his advantage over de Grassi had climbed to 3.5 seconds just before the final lap to take Mahindra's first win in FIA Formula E.
Going! We did it, man!
One man for whom the pit stops didn't go according to plan was Sam Bird. The Englishman pitted just behind his teammate Lopez in 5th place. But the Argentine stop was 2.4 seconds quicker than Bird, so he lost out to Vergne, Prost and Abt. He ultimately got back past Daniel Abt to be classified 7th, but he should have been ultimately battling for 4th place. It was a day to forget for the Andretti team. Robin Frenz qualified 17th, while Antonio Felix da Costa started at the back in 20th. Both got shocking starts too, so at the end of the first lap they were running dead last. They rolled the dice, conserving energy extremely hard in the first stint, allowing Frenz to pit 1 lap later than everyone else and da Costa 2 laps later, but it was to no avail. The pair continued to run in last place until the final lap when they managed to pass the Venturi of Tom Dillman, who was struggling with his lack of energy. Aside from a double retirement in London Season 2, it was the worst result for the Andretti team in their Formula E history. But we can't end without looking at the race of Sebastian Buemi. The championship leader had quite a day. He qualified well down the grid in 14th position, but recovered through the order during the race. First on his hit list was Stefan Sarazan, into what would become his favourite overtaking spot at turn 9. Next up was Jerome D'Ambrosio in the Faraday Future Dragon racing car. The next EV of Oliver Turvey was next up, followed by the Venturi of Maro Engel. The Swiss then decided to mix it up a bit, overtaking Daniel Abt at turn 1 instead of turn 9. But then he was back to his old ways, overtaking Sam Bird at his favourite corner in the closing stages, crossing the line in 5th place. With de Grassi failing to win, that was a huge boost to his championship chances. Despite the impressive drive, he was later disqualified for having incorrect tyre pressures, which would have almost certainly helped him make all of those overtakes. So it was all a hard day's work for nothing. Buemi's disappointment, though, was matched by the delight of the Mahindra team, who took their first ever victory in FIA Formula E. At the start, it was a good getaway for the Mahindra of Rosenqvist. While Buemi didn't have a bad start, he was very slow through turn 1, backing the 2 DS Virgin cars into each other, a theme that would continue for the rest of the race. It also meant Rosenqvist was 1.8 seconds ahead, halfway around the first lap. From then on, it was pretty stationary at the front. Buemi did close the gap to Rosenqvist, but the race changed at the pit stop. As Rosenqvist was due to leave, his teammate Nick Heidfeld was coming in. Inside the garages, the teams will have a countdown clock of when to leave, but they also have a lollipop man on hand to keep an eye out for oncoming traffic. Rosenqvist started to edge out of the pit box with the lollipop still down because he can see Heidfeld coming. But with Rosenqvist edging out, indecision is final, and eventually the Swede pulls right out into the path of the German. Unsafe releases will always be contentious in Formula E, as when cars are coming in nose to tail, they will inevitably be pulling out into each other's path nose to tail. But this one was clear, and Felix Rosenqvist was given a 10-second time penalty as punishment. So despite leading from start to finish, sadly for the Mahindra team, it wouldn't be a second win in a row, as Sebastian Buemi inherited the victory. We saw the two DS Virgin cars side by side at the first corner. Well, fast forward to the start of lap 17, and it was the same scenario. Sam Bird again attacking Jose Maria Lopez around the outside for third place, and the two made contact.
Yeah, good move, Shooter.
Lopez had less usable energy than Bird, which meant the Englishman could brake later around the outside of turn 1. Lopez responded by trying to hold the inside line, but just had to correct as the car tried to get away, and that one small loss of control was enough to nudge Bird wide. From the onboard with Bird, he steers away from Lopez on 2 occasions, but still can't avoid the Argentinian, and once he's on the dirty part of the track, does very well to keep it out of the wall. That also cost the pair a lot of energy, so Bird was easy prey for Daniel Abt later in the lap, and then Nico Prost, while Lopez soon lost positions to Jean-Éric Vergne, Lucas de Grassi and Daniel Abt. After the pit stops, the battle was on for third. On lap 32, Jean-Éric Vergne tried to defend from Lucas de Grassi at turn 1, but got out of shape and slithered wide. 1 lap later, it was the turn of Daniel Abt. Abt had the advantage of fan boost and powered his way alongside Vergne into the first corner, but Vergne was having none of it this time and held his line. On lap 35, Abt did finally manage to make the pass. The Frenchman, though, was very unhappy with his car's handling, and if you haven't seen it, there's a great video with all of his furious team radio from this second stint.
The DS car are 2 seconds behind you, so we need to focus on that.
Behind. Let's focus in front, for God's sake. I don't care what's behind. Tell me what do I do to get them back.
Things only got worse for Vergne, as he then lost out to Jose Maria Lopez, but managed to hold 6th place to the line. But the victory went to Sebastian Buemi, with 4 races remaining.